Hello everyone, Stormy One here. Today we'll be talking about an upper level low that's going to disrupt our weather over the next couple of days, starting tomorrow through Tuesday and into Wednesday. And then we got severe weather returning to the forecast on Thursday into Friday, and maybe even extending into early next week. But let's first get started with the watch warning advisory display across the country for this beautiful Mother's Day. Uh, for the most part, it's quiet. At least around here, it is. Got some flood watches across parts of the southeast, red flag warnings across parts of the upper Midwest, and even portions of the central and northern plains, and wind issues out west. Locally in Kentucky here, for satellite, it's been mostly sunny for a decent chunk of us, but you do see some increasing clouds down towards Tennessee, and very soon here you're going to see more in the way of some showers and even a couple of thunderstorms that would probably be ongoing later this afternoon into the evening for folks that's down along the Tennessee border and even to parts of south central Kentucky as well. That same system that's off to our south will bother us for the rest of the state for tomorrow. Maximum high temperature so far today, it's been pretty nice out there. Most of us have been in the 70s, but if you go across parts of the really northeast and west, we've been hovering around 80 degrees in a couple of different places. A high of 82 degrees for Lawrence County in northeastern Kentucky. That's been the warm spot so far. Storm Prediction Center outlook for today got a slight risk for severe weather for parts of Montana, northwestern Wyoming, into eastern Idaho. Not too often you see severe weather risk up there for this time of year, and then you got a marginal risk well off to our south. Then by day 2, which is tomorrow, got a marginal risk area for parts of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, stretching into eastern Tennessee. And doesn't quite make it to Kentucky, but there is that outside chance for a couple of strong storms possibly tomorrow. Then by day 3, which is Tuesday, there's no risk area. Day 4, predictably too low. But then as you get into day 5, which is Thursday, got a slight risk area for severe weather for portions of the Midwest. It even includes some parts of western Kentucky. It does include places like Owensboro and Paducah out there. I would say roughly I-69 along and north is where your slight risk generally is. But most of the states not even a risk for severe weather as of yet. It wouldn't surprise me in future outlooks we see this slight risk get expanded to the south and east over time. And this will be a first out of possibly multiple days where we're going to see severe weather chances within the next 1 to 2 weeks. But let's first talk about the upper level low that's going to bother us over the next couple of days. And we're going to use the HRRR. And you can see some of those showers and thunderstorms that develop in Tennessee move into southern Kentucky here. But as you get really after sunset, the intensity of those storms go down. And it's just general showers here. And as we wake up for Monday morning, some of us may be dry. Some of us could be dealing with some showers, maybe a couple of thunderstorms. And this will be ongoing pretty much all day for Monday. Now, there is a chance for a break in the action as you get into Monday afternoon, but that can lead to some renewed showers and thunderstorms. And that's where the potential for a couple of strong storms may exist. If we do see strong storms tomorrow, the main hazard is going to be strong winds and small hail. No tornado risk really to talk about for tomorrow. So there's a lack of low-level shear. And then the intensity dies down Monday night, and you'll see renewed showers and storms start to pop up for Tuesday. And we'll go over to the high-res NAM for that. And you can see it's kind of similar look for Tuesday morning. Could be a couple of isolated showers out there, maybe for southeastern Kentucky. But you can see most of the rain stays east of Kentucky. You can see all those showers that's all going across the Carolinas up into the mid-Atlantic region. And then as you kind of get into Tuesday afternoon, we got some new storms that kind of form out there, especially across eastern Kentucky. showing the better coverage of those showers and thunderstorms. Across central western Kentucky may be more scattered in nature of those showers. And there may be another chance for a strong storm or two once again for Tuesday. Same threats as it would be for tomorrow. Small hail and some strong winds. And some of that stuff may linger into Wednesday, but I think Wednesday we got a pretty low chance of rain. But best chance of rain for Wednesday would be east of I-75. Areas west of I-75 would be more isolated in nature. But after all that's said and done, as soon as the upper level low moves out of here, how much rain could we see? Well, you can see areas journeying west of I-75. Some areas may not get a lot of rain. It's got Louisville getting two tenths of an inch of rain to some areas across south central Kentucky maybe exceeding an inch of rain. But if you go into eastern Kentucky, some rainfall amounts may be better. Could be a general 1 to 3 inches of rain with some locally higher amounts possible. Now, since we're talking about thunderstorms here, it's going to be impossible to know the exact numbers for any location or anything like that. Some areas won't get a lot of rain. Some areas may get quite a bit. But there can also be the risk for localized flooding issues as well, especially if some of those storms train over some of the same areas. And that's where we could see some of the higher rainfall totals out there. So the NAM suggesting maybe upwards of 4 inches of rain may not be out of the question after Wednesday. So, yeah, quite a bit of rain for some of us. Could be on the way. Some of us may not get so lucky in terms of the rain. But I think everybody will get rain at some point out of this upper level low. It may not rain every single day at your house. And then after Wednesday, the upper level low moves out of the way, moves out towards the mid-Atlantic region, eventually into the northeast. Then we got our next storm system that we'll be watching. You can see here the European model shows a 989 millibar low over central Nebraska. You're going to see this turn more towards the north, but also continue to strengthen as well. And as we get into Thursday afternoon, now we have a 981 millibar low over the Dakotas. So that's a pretty strong surface low here. And of course here Kentucky will be deep in the warm sector for the storm system, so severe weather does come into mind. And you can see here down towards peak time heating for Thursday, or if you don't know what peak time heating is, that's late afternoon into the early evening. European model does initiate some thunderstorms across parts of Illinois and Indiana, maybe up towards Wisconsin. Basically where the SPC does have the slight risk area. Those may be the storms to watch, maybe towards Thursday night. Now, it's unclear if those storms will actually make it down here to Kentucky or not. We're still a little bit ways away out. But what we can look into is the environment itself. Is it supportive for severe weather or not in our area? So we're going to start off with the 500 millibar winds. And you can see we got a massive trough out to the west here. And with that trough, you got a large belt of stronger winds aloft. And usually out ahead of that is where you tend to see some severe weather. So right in here would be more ideal for severe weather, right in here. And I will say this is a little bit faster compared to previous runs. So if the trend does continue, that slight risk that you saw from the SPC outlook may need to be moved to the east a little bit more. But either way here, this would be the area ideal for severe weather based off of the 500 millibar winds. And these winds would be moving kind of quick across the area here. So you go through Thursday night, and you can see by Friday that belt of those stronger winds now go right over Kentucky. At the same time, temperatures will be very warm. Forecasted high temperatures is mid to upper 80s, so the warmest temperatures so far this year likely for many of us. And there is the outside chance for some of those cities out there like Louisville or even Paducah and Bowling Green may flirt with 90 degrees. So it's going to be a very warm day. And not only it's going to be a very warm day, it's also going to be very humid. These are your dew points for Thursday, and really across central western Kentucky, we're talking about dew points in the low 70s here. So not only it's very warm, but it's also going to be a very humid air mass, and that's likely going to lead to a pretty unstable environment out there. So we got the wind. So we got the wind energy. We got the dew points. We got the instability in place here. So you'll think most of your greens will be in place for severe weather. And I'll show you guys the GFS model here. This is your supercell composite parameter here, which kind of gives you an idea of how favorable the environment can be for supercells. It doesn't necessarily tell you if the environment is favorable for tornadoes specifically. It's just supercells in general. The way I kind of look at it is how favorable the environment is for severe weather in general. Higher the numbers, the more favorable the environment can be for severe weather. You can see here, especially across parts of Indiana and Kentucky, we got some of the higher numbers. Goes up as high as a 10 in south central Indiana. And to kind of give you guys a perspective, or kind of a little bit of perspective here, generally supercell composite parameter numbers above a 2 or a 4 can be decently favorable for severe weather. But when you start getting numbers, I would say probably 5 or 6, even pushing 7, that's pretty favorable. But when you start to get numbers to double digits, that's a very favorable environment. And you can see here, we're about in that alley where conditions would be quite favorable out there. And here's a look at surface-based instability here. These values may be underdone here because GFS likes to be too cool with temperatures. As I said earlier on, the high temperature forecast is mid to upper 80s to flirting around 90. Well, this model here has got low to mid 80s, so it is probably going to be a few degrees too cool out there, as this model here likes to do. So I will warn you guys that ahead of time. And the European model tends to do a little bit better with temperatures here, and it's showing higher instability values than this. So I'm just going to put that out there. But you can see here, surface-based instability, areas in red, that's instability north of 4,000 joules per kilogram. That's a lot of instability. So most instability we've seen so far this year in Kentucky. Now we are getting that time of year where you're going to start to see pretty high instability numbers, especially as you get closer to summertime. So this is not unusual for us. But it's still quite supportive for severe weather. This is a highly unstable atmosphere that we could be dealing with for Thursday. And if I were to get it like a forecast sounding, let's say over Frankfurt here, to have a little bit of a deeper dive of what the environment could look like here, you'll be able to notice here, if you're a weather enthusiast or a meteorologist, you'll probably know that this sounding would support damaging winds, very large hail, and very low chance for a tornado. I think tornado risk stays pretty low. But there is one important thing on this sounding here that's worth mentioning, and that's right here, right there in that red box, where that red line overlaps that blue line. That's an indication of a cap inversion. What's a cap inversion is that there's eventually like a layer of warm air, and when thunderstorms try to get to the cap, it can't break through it. It's like a brick wall. You can't go through a brick wall. So that's basically what a cap inversion is. And if the cap does stay strong enough throughout most of the day, then we may be able to get away with the worst of the weather. But if it ends up breaking, peak time heating, which then again that's late afternoon to the early evening, then there could be the potential for some significant severe weather. And specifically, that would be the potential for very large hail. If you guys remember back on, Thursday of last week, we had hail up the size of baseballs down in Monticello. Could be talking about hail that big once again, unfortunately, maybe potentially even bigger than that. And that's just the highest potential. So really everything I look in here for large hail is here, including significant hail. So we definitely got to keep an eye on the hail risk for Thursday here. But if we do see storms, peak time heating on Thursday, I think they'll stay isolated in nature. I don't think it's going to be a widespread event. My thoughts could change later down the road since we're still a few days away, but I do think there is the possibility for another round of storms maybe Thursday night coming from the northwest. But that's my current thinking as of now. That could change as we get closer here. But I think the main concern for, at least for Thursday afternoon into the early evenings, the potential for very large hail out there. And as we move into Friday here, that front stalls out somewhere in the Ohio Valley, either down here in Kentucky or just north of Kentucky. Air will be getting pretty unstable once again. I think the GFS might be a little bit underdone with the instability values here. It's getting instability getting up towards, 2. It wouldn't surprise me if we push, 3,000 joules per kilogram CAPE for Friday here. And I think Friday may have a better chance. If you look at the upper level winds here, you can see the 500 millbar winds go right over Kentucky here, and that can support some organized shear in the upper levels in the atmosphere. In the low of a jet at 850 millbars, you know what? We actually do have some of the got a pretty decent low of a jet out there. It's actually my first time seeing that from the GFS. So we got a pretty good amount of wind energy to work with, overlapping an unstable and moist atmosphere. So potential there for severe weather again for Friday. And if we were to look into the European model here for Friday as well, you kind of see a similar theme here, though the winds may be a little bit stronger compared to the GFS model here. And if you were to look into dew points, you can see it looks like the European model for the front's a little bit farther south here. It's got its front approximately through here. But we'll have to wait and see where that front sags. Because if it just stays off to our north, then we can get a pretty decent round of storms later Friday afternoon into maybe Friday night. If it's a little bit farther south, let's say maybe across southern Kentucky here, then most of Kentucky might be able to get away from the severe weather threat on Friday. And I think that's going to be the main uncertainty, is where this front is going to stall out here for Friday. And I think as you get into Saturday, I think the front does pass through all the way through Kentucky, so Saturday may end up being a nicer day out there. And then by Sunday, front starts to come back north, and then we may get through another multi-day period where we may see some severe weather chances. And we're going to look at it from the GFS ensembles superset composite parameter mean. So this is a mean of 20 members here, and usually this is what we look at for the medium range here, really for about anything, upper level winds to storm systems, or how much visibility could be out there. This is the type of stuff we look at in the medium range. So we'll start off with Wednesday here. So Wednesday, higher the number, larger the signal for severe weather. So right in here, especially in the oranges and reds, there's a pretty solid signal for that. And then of course we got Thursday. You can see here how it focuses more towards the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, even portions of the mid-Mississippi River Valley as well. And you'll kind of notice here as you get later range, when the numbers start to go down, that's when uncertainty starts to increase out there. That's where you start to see more of the members becoming more spread out, I would say here. But you can see here for Friday here, you can see across central western Kentucky there's a decent signal for it, for some severe weather. And then as you get into Saturday, it's kind of more focused to the south and west. But then as you get into next Sunday, the signal starts to come back as that front goes back up as a warm front. Then this is getting into early next week. This is next Monday. Signal returns across most of Kentucky, and I think that could possibly come back into next Tuesday as well. So basically we have Thursday, Friday, maybe next Sunday, and I also think next Monday and next Tuesday would be the days to watch where we could see the potential for some severe weather. So, but this is peak severe weather season, so it's not a surprise that we are seeing an uptick on severe weather during peak severe weather season, but it's definitely something we'll have to be watching very closely as we get closer to these particular days. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit that like button. If you really like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys got any questions, put a comment section down below. I'll answer you guys questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.